Good morning or good afternoon if you're watching this later. Um, it is Monday, September 11th, and I think this is my first September 11th that I'm not in New York. This day is ingrained in my brain now. I was born and raised in New York for those who might not know. So this day is like always in my head when this day comes. Even though I didn't have any specific association with the Twin Towers. Well, that was a lie. I was just telling a story because my mom used to work in one of the Twin Towers, but that was like in the 90s. Um, but here we are, September 11th. I'm in Georgia, um, having my black tea because it is early. Today I wanted to talk about, let me make sure nobody's trying to get in. Okay. Today I would like to talk about doing the work and how there is no way around doing the work. There is no way around doing the work. You will not pass go, and I actually want to talk about this more so emotionally and um, not necessarily doing the work in a business way. Doing the work emotionally, um, there is no way around it. I think somebody's trying to come in. Give me sorry, y'all. Today, some people are actually coming, so I will be pausing. If you're watching this later. Good morning. I was just talking about doing the work. I know we're only 2 minutes in, but I was talking about doing the work emotionally, and how there's no way around doing the work emotionally, and not necessarily in a business mindset. Good to see you again. Um, I had a question for you specifically, V, because, and you don't have to answer this right now. I know it is 7:30 in the morning. But you did want to have a discussion about last week. I would also like to let you know that this is being recorded. So if there's anything you don't want to share, I totally understand that. I'm also not sure if you can hear me, type it in the chat also. Sometimes my headphones are weird. Um, okay, beautiful. Um, so yeah, I was talking about doing the work emotionally, right? And how there's no way around it. Um, Sometimes, I mean, especially in this Instagram, TikTok age, it's very easy to how do I say this without being shady? It's very easy to fake the funk. It's very easy to tell people that you're doing okay when you're not. It's very easy to show the world that you're showing up for yourself, even when you're not, right? You can put a smile up and people will reward you for that fake smile, um, even when you're not happy. And so there's no way around doing the work. It will eventually catch up. It will eventually let you know not to pass go. There are a few people that I have been associated with or friends with that I thought were really doing their emotional work because I met them online, or other people kind of were, other people introduced us who didn't know too much about them, but they also knew them online, and online they looked pretty happy. Um, but then come to find out they're really mean people. They're really mean, right? Somebody will eventually look at you and hold up that mirror and see that there has not been work done. And it's not to shame everybody, right? Everybody deserves friendships and love at all stages of your life. But for yourself's sake, for your own sake, um, that mirror will be held up. And eventually you will have to do that work that you have been putting off. And for me, especially, there was a lot of work that I was putting off a decade ago that did not allow me to pass go. It didn't allow me to make those connections that I needed to make for my art career. It didn't allow me to make those connections that I needed to make to move. I couldn't have customers 10 years ago because I was so afraid to talk to people. I didn't do the work of, trying to get myself out there. I was so afraid to talk to people that I wasn't going to meet anybody who was a potential. Right now, not doing the work emotionally for me looks like it looks different, right? Before, not doing the work emotionally was not giving myself enough grace, not talking to myself nicely, not forgiving myself. But now, today, not doing the work for me looks like not speaking up. It's interesting. It shifted to not speaking up. And so I have to be mindful of when I'm feeling, when my emotions are heightened. I have to be mindful of two things, right? Not necessarily blowing up when my emotions are heightened, because I can tell them how I feel. I can tell them how I feel right now. Um, I have to be mindful of sharing the way that I feel in a way where it would actually be received, because that's the goal, right? I'm not saying that you have to speak in a way where it'll be received, right? Speak in whichever way that you'd like. But if you can, speak in a way where it can be received by your loved ones, because that is the goal. You want your loved ones to know how you're feeling, right? You want to share the way that you're feeling. Otherwise, what was the point of sharing the way that you're feeling, right? Besides it could be for you, but if there's a specific scenario that I'm thinking of for myself that's like, if I know that somebody is not treating me the way that I want to be treated, and I want them to still be in my life, I have to communicate that in a way where they can hear me. So what I've been doing lately is what I did last week is I there was something that was bothering me specifically with my lover. And they're gonna watch this, so they know what I'm talking about. But specifically with my lover, there was something that was bothering me, not with them, but with people around them, and I needed to speak up because I want them in my life, right? I needed to speak up because if it happened again, I'd just bottle it up, and wait for a moment when I explode. So I needed to speak up. But when I first said it out loud to myself, this is what I do now. I say it to myself before I tell the other person, right? So that I know what it sounds like. So when I first said it out loud to myself, I started crying. So I know I was pissed. So I was like, all right, say it again. Like, I was telling myself, all right, say it again. This is how you're feeling. Say it again. So I said it again and I was still crying. It took me like 5 or 6 times of saying it. And even the words started to change. The words started to shift, right? What I actually wanted to communicate shifted. It took me about 5 or 6 times of repeating how I felt to myself before I can say it to my lover. And, in a way where they can hear me and they can understand what I'm saying. And I can understand what I'm saying. Because actually, the first time, the first time that I had said it out loud, I was like, oh, I'm pissed. This person got me fucked up. Right? That's not that's not what I want to communicate. Um, Even though this person did get me fucked up, right? But I think that before, I used to just explode first because I didn't think anybody would validate my emotions. If I just told them what it was without the emotion, I was kind of protecting myself, like, oh, I don't know if you're going to validate my emotions anyway, so let me just show you my emotions so that you can see how pissed I am. but the truth was this person loves me and they do validate my emotions. So I can tell them what's going on. They know I'm pissed. Um, and that's that on that. So yeah, doing the work, there's no way around it. And there's no like time limit. There isn't a like it's not like you gotta do the work today. Do the work whenever it comes up. That's also the beauty of living so many years that we live. We have so much time to figure it out. We have so much time to figure it out. And if we're lucky, we have so much time to figure it out with the people that we love. Yeah, so that was that on that. That was that on emotional work. When it comes to business work, right? I guess for me it's also emotional, actually. So my mom would praise me when I would do a really good job. But if I did a mid job or if I did a bad job, um, my uh, my mom would not even look at me. So it got to a point where when I was a kid, I started lying about the things that I did, right? I'd make them seem bigger than they actually were. I'd make them feel bigger than they actually were. Um, and that impacts me today in my adulthood because I constantly feel like I have to do something huge in order to feel seen. Like I constantly feel like I have to do something so big in order for somebody to give me a small round of applause. And that's something that I am nipping in the bud. That's something that I'm cutting out because I'm exhausted. I'm motherfucking tired, and you can't you I can't live my life always trying to move on to the next big thing. I'm I'm gonna wear myself out, right? And so part of my emotional healing is actually doing tiny things. It's doing small things, things like this, things like waking up with your little coffee and talking, into a camera for 15 minutes. Before a decade ago, I would have been like, that's not enough. I need, put me on a billboard. That wasn't enough. But this is part of my childhood healing, doing the small things, which ironically leads you to the big things, right? That's the irony in all of that. I was always trying to go for the big things, but the big things weren't striving for the big things. I'd end up doing them small anyways and pissing myself off that they're small, right? Not even giving myself flowers for the little efforts. And that's yeah, it's not really going to get me anywhere. So doing the small things will also get you to do the big things. Just like me repeating myself 6 times before telling my lover that I'm pissed, that is doing the small things, right? So yeah, here I am. I think that for artists, for people who want to grow, for people who want to do what they love because it's fun for them, um, trying to trying to take a big bite was not going to be fun. I don't know why the visual for that was terrible in my head. It's just, but having to pressure yourself into doing huge things back to back to back to back, it's not going to be fun after some time. It might be fun the first time. Shit, I had a really big art show in New York the first time, right? I used to put on art shows for other people, for people who've never had an art show. Funny enough, I've never had an art show myself, but I used to do them for other people because I went to art school. I went to SVA and I learned how to do that there. So I used to do it for people in the hood, people who have been painting for 5, 10 years and never had the opportunity to to even go to a gallery, right? Let alone go to a gallery, but never had the opportunity to think outside of showing work outside of their room. And so I would make these big shows for artists, right? The first one that I ever made, that person, that artist got the biggest show. Because thank you. Somebody said that's amazing. That somebody got the biggest show because it was my first one and I went all out. But the rest were not as big as that, right? That first one even got news coverage. The rest were, oh, actually some others got news coverage. But no, that was the biggest one. That was the biggest show that I've thrown. But I exhausted myself. That I remember how painful it was. I thought I could just hang up work 30 to 45 minutes before the show. There were people waiting outside. I was tired. I didn't even want to stay for the show, but I stayed for the show. And then we took the work down that night, right? I exhausted myself that day. Um, but it was the biggest, but it wasn't fun, right? That immediately it wasn't fun. For the next show, I didn't think it was going to be fun. I already put in my brain, it's not going to be fun. So it wasn't as big. Um, I don't remember where I was going with that, but if you're an artist and you're watching this and you would like to keep your art fun, take little bites. Take small little bites, which I know hurts because for me, right? And I could be projecting. For me, I'm like, I just want to make it. But then if you really think about it, if I just make it, if I just want to make it, then I'm done, right? If I really think about it, if I just want to make it, then I'm done. Then it kind of feels like, why am I rushing for the end? Why am I rushing? If I love this so much and I'm having so much fun, why am I rushing for it to be over? And maybe that's me equating bigness with it being over, but I just feel like once things are big, they become a little more rigid. You have more boxes or more pressure, right? If I'm showing at the MoMA tomorrow, if I'm showing at the MoMA tomorrow, I'm gonna shit myself because that's a lot of pressure, right? And especially if I feel if I'm and I'm saying tomorrow as in like literally, if I'm here today on the Zoom and somebody says tomorrow you're showing at the MoMA, I would be like, I'm not ready. I have so many more things that I need to make that I want to show because I didn't take those small bites, right? I haven't taken a lot of small bites. But there's so many more things that I want to have fun with before I show you all what I've made. Once I show you all what I've made, there's going to be a lot of questions and a lot of attention, a lot of things that I don't want to do with. Maybe I need a manager by then, but it's not fun. It doesn't sound fun to me right now, right? And maybe you're thinking about this differently, but for me, it doesn't sound fun. Um, I would love to show at the MoMA one day, and I also am aware of where I am with myself and my work. It's still very much evolving, and I also don't want to put myself in a headspace where I'm stuck. I feel like if I were to show the MoMA tomorrow, and because of my trauma with getting praised with big things, I feel like me personally, I will get stuck. If I were to get big praise for whatever I'm showing, I'd think I'd put myself in a headspace and I'd need therapy again to get me out of the headspace that I need to remake this work because that's what got applauded. Right. I don't want to put myself under that pressure. I know my traumas. I know where I'm at right now, and I know that I'm not ready. And that's okay. One day I will be, and that's fine. Um, but being very self-aware of where you are emotionally, where you are um, vulnerably with your work is super important. It's very important. I'm gonna go on for one more minute, which is shorter than 15 minutes. Uh, but I rarely got any sleep last night. Oh, I did, but just I got sleep. I slept. Um, but I can go for some more. So I'm gonna go take a nappy in a minute or two. Um, Before that, there was one more thing that I wanted to bring up that I wrote down. The last session was on being good to others, and I think this is a great segue because you cannot be good to others without doing the work on yourself. Like you cannot be good to others without being good to yourself because you know what you deserve. Once you're good to yourself, you know what you deserve, right? Once you know what you deserve, you know what other people don't, right? You know what you don't deserve because you wouldn't talk to yourself like that, right? Once you stop allowing yourself to diss yourself, you will stop dissing other people. And I'm gonna leave it at that, on that, on that. It was a pleasure. Thank you for helping me heal my traumas by allowing me to do this small thing. I love y'all. Peace. Thank y'all for tuning in if you're watching this later. And thank you. I don't know if you want your name public. I think I already said it. Thank you, V, for tuning in today live. Um, if you're watching this later, some people emailed me and it was super cool. They told me what they liked and what their favorite parts were. Same energy this time. Let me know what resonated, what didn't resonate. And I will see y'all next week. Bye.